military road where all the rich people live. But they go over this big old place. Like 7 kids, college kids. We went up and down the streets of all the rich people and got all the furniture off the streets and all that for everything.
Everybody file in. All right, so we're here to discuss the sentencing of Jorge Landeros. He was convicted of second-degree murder for the death of Sue Ann Markham, who we have memorialized here in a photograph. And Sue's family and friends are here with us today. Her brother, Alan Markham, would like to speak with all of you. We also have Assistant State's Attorney Debbie Feinstein to my left here, and then next to her, Deputy State's Attorney Ryan Wexler, who tried this case under the direction of State's Attorney John McCarthy. He'll walk us through exactly what happened in court, and then Mr. Markham will speak as well. And I can provide any spellings after the fact.
Good morning. My name is John McCarthy. We just left the courtroom of Rachel McGuckian, where Jorge Landeros, age 56, was sentenced for the second-degree murder of Sue Markham. This was a case that dates back to October of 2010. Ms. Markham lived on Massachusetts Avenue in Bethesda. She was a beloved professor from American University, a short distance away from her home. And I will tell you, I'm particularly honored. Sue was murdered in 2010. This case resolves not quite 16 years, but 15 years and some months later. And she was surrounded. The courtroom was packed with people who loved her, friends, family, and it's a real tribute maybe to the person that she was. That's so many years later, so many people needed to be here. And others joined us, even beyond those who packed the courtroom today. There were others that joined us by Zoom, and we are forever grateful for the support of her family and loved ones and friends who helped us during the course of the investigation as well, because they gave us information, allowed us to get some insight as to what was happening here. But again, today was the sentencing in this matter. It was delayed on a prior occasion because of a medical emergency that occurred just prior to the beginning of the sentencing. But the defendant was given a sentence of 25 years in prison for the murder of Sue Markham. That is a flat sentence. There's no probation. There's no larger sentence. He was given credit for the time he served with something over 1,000 days of credit for time served. We are very grateful to Judge McGuckian for the trial she gave to this matter. I've talked to the family and friends. I think the judge gave the state a very fair trial, gave us a magnificent trial, and I think her sentence was fair too. I think she heard from both sides, and she talked at great length as to why she gave the sentence here today. I will tell you, I am, as always, deeply appreciate the two tremendous women who stand to the left of me here, Debbie Feinstein and Ryan Wexler, my deputy. If you watch this trial, you know what a magnificent effort these two women put together in putting this case together. I'd also say too, we have partners in this endeavor here in Montgomery County, keeping people safe. And again, I give great high praise to the men and women of Montgomery County Police, and in particular Paula Hamill and Larry Haley. I think Larry may have set a record. I told him this. For the longest period of time I ever saw a detective on the stand in the course of a trial, I think he was on the stand for about three full days. And quite candidly, I think that testimony, because he was so good and so thorough, it really told the whole story of this case and how and why this case was so thoroughly and perfectly examined. Look, this took place, the murder itself took place on October the 25th, 2010. It occurred in Sue's house. when the police were summoned, it was quite obvious that there appeared to be a burglary that may have occurred at that location. There were some items missing, other items that were stacked up to be leaving the house, and her car was gone. I will tell you, I think, and the judge mentioned this, so I'll citing back to Judge McGuckian, I think that was a staged burglary. We believed it was a staged burglary, and it was staged by the defendant to make it look like there was someone else there that committed this crime. When the police got there, Miss Markham's body was found at the foot of a stairwell there. There was a medical autopsy was done of her, and she died of blunt force trauma and asphyxia. Basically, she was strangled. The key piece of evidence in this case, I think, the key single piece of evidence that comes in, which is actually in multiple locations, is the DNA in this case. This was kind of a whodunit case. We have Sue's body. We have a house where burglary is staged, a car that's missing, a car that is later on recovered in a different location. But upon examination of her body and DNA taken from her body, as well as from some shot glasses in the apartment, as well as a bottle that was by her body that may have been used as a bludgeon, we obtained the defendant's DNA on all three of these items. He was intimately involved, and the DNA linked him directly to Sue's body, to Sue's killing, and to the homicide. And there was no other DNA that linked to anyone else whose name was ever brought up in the course of this investigation. We are, again, very grateful to the judge. And I will tell you, Judge McGuckian, before she gave the sentence, went on in great detail. She understood the facts of this case. This was, and again, some things are said maybe by the defense in closing in this case. Only point I would make is the defendant did not testify during the course of the trial. Just so that he didn't testify. So much of the stuff that's thrown out there in conversation is not something that was ever supported by any evidence. And the judge must have said this 4 or 5 times. This is a verdict that was returned beyond a reasonable doubt by 12 citizens selected randomly who heard all of the evidence over 9 days in this case. It was an appropriate verdict and well tried, but and again, it was clear if you listen to Judge McGuckian's comments today, she heard from both sides. And when she summarized the facts, she didn't just talk about what the lawyers from the state's attorney's office said. She was completely conversant with the defendant's jail records, his criminal history, what he'd done while he was in prison. She detailed all of that, but also then felt that it was appropriate, which as we requested, that the sentence in this case be above the Maryland sentencing guidelines. And this was a substantial departure above the Maryland sentencing guidelines, and I think Judge McGuckian, again, got it right. We're thankful for that, and quite candidly, I think you ought to quote her because she did a better job than I'm doing detailing exactly why she gave the sentence she did. Now, having said that, I'm going to bring up Sue's brother.
Thank you, John. During the trial, we noted the 15th anniversary of my sister's death. Yesterday was her birthday. Today, we're standing here with the person who murdered her sentenced to 25 years, thanks to the work of the Montgomery County Police, the state's attorneys, and I'm very grateful for the work that they did and appreciative for the care and attention that the jury paid and that the judge gave us throughout this case.
I don't know if anybody has any questions, but we'll take questions from anybody in. Okay, yes. I'm sorry.
So many years of not knowing, and now you're here. What is that moment for you? I know you have words in the courtroom, but for those who have followed this and watched, what do you know?
I said those words just before.
I would indicate part of the delay in this matter, and I don't think I accurately included this in my earlier comment, was the defendant who had regularly gone back and forth across the border between Mexico and the United States, regularly, routinely. And by the way, 4 days before this murder was committed, he had re-entered the United States. We ultimately were able to get, during one of those crossings in cooperation with the border guards there, we were able to get a buccal swab from him. That's how we got his DNA. He provided a buccal swab during one of those crossings. He never came back to the United States again. He secreted himself in Mexico and has moved to another town and assumed a different identity. That's why the struggle was so difficult in obtaining and getting him back here to the United States.
Sir, with the classmate, do you mind sharing some of what you had shared in the courtroom about, especially the students not getting a chance to experience who she was?
That was the point I hope I got across in my statement, because Sue was an extraordinary person, and it was evidenced by the fact there were 800 people at her commemoration. You know, that just doesn't happen usually. She touched a lot of hearts and minds, and what she robbed us, the society, of is all those future students that she would have inspired to be a productive member of society. Oh, yes, yeah. The example I gave was that Sue worked at Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, and she brought that experience into the classroom where she put on a red ball on her nose and walked into the classroom and talked about the depreciation complexities of elephants. So it was with that, you know, it was very clever, you know, to spark the young minds that she touched. And that's what we're going to sorely miss. It's very sad. But again, thank you and everybody here, John, Ryan, Debbie. I think I got that right. And thank you all.
Mr. Marsh, you spoke at length in the courtroom today about your relationship with Sue, and you testified during this trial. Can you just speak to what's going through your mind today at home, 15 years later?
Closure? I guess that's closure. I'm happy that I can now say that we can put this baby to rest. That Sue is now doing God's work, and we now can do Sue's work on this earth.
Yesterday would have been your sister's birthday. How old would she have turned?
She'd have been 68.
Alan, for those of us who might be barely familiarizing ourselves with your sister's story, because of this, because justice has finally arrived today, is there anything you want to say about her legacy, the joy that she brought to so many others in this world? You're surrounded, you yourself are in love with her.
That picture right there says not everything, but a lot. That was the last picture that I took of my sister. As I said in court, it was when we were visiting my parents for a weekend. I'd come out from California. She drove up from here up to central New York. And the eggplant, the grilled eggplant that she's showing came from her garden. And she was very, very proud of the eggplant that she'd grown. I hold that picture very dearly. It's one of several pictures of her that I hold dear and that really demonstrate the exuberance that she brought to life. What we can't ever know is the lives that she might have touched, the students she might have inspired, whether to go into accounting or to go into some other field with passion. Because what made my sister a great teacher was that she cared about the people who came to learn from her far more than she cared about accounting or great examples to bring accounting to life so that accounting became meaningful and not a bunch of numbers. She cared about her students more than she cared about her subject, and that's the mark of a great teacher. That was my sister.
Mr. Markham, you mentioned that this is the day after her birthday. What does it mean to you to receive this sentence so after her birthday?
March 2nd's been a difficult day for the past 15 years. I'm just glad that the trial and the sentencing hearing are over. I know that there will be follow-ons. I will stay apprised of what's going on. And next March 2nd, we'll celebrate again.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thanks. Thank you.
I met at my road wrap up years ago.
Facebook.
It's trouble.
Yeah,